What do J.K. Rowling and Theodore Roosevelt have in common? And no, this is not just another corny dad joke. If deep work truly is the superpower of the 21st century, then these two were heroes. In my last video, I explained why deep work is so important and why I think it can improve your approach to work. Cal Newport defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limits. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. And this concept orbits around one basic equation, and that is that more intensity equals better productivity, better results, and less time. If you can harness the superpower of deep work in your own life, then you will thrive. So, how do we do this? In this video, I'm going to explain the how of deep work. I'm Drew Dillman, a bike racer and a coach, and this is the Dillman Coaching YouTube channel, where I provide fun and useful content that will push, motivate, and encourage you as an athlete. One extreme method that Cal suggests is to quit social media. If social media does not provide significant benefit to your life, then just quit. He gives the example of J.K. Rowling during the writing of her Harry Potter series. She only had one tweet on her Twitter account, which read, "You won't find me here often, as pen and paper are my priority at the moment."
Wingardium Leviosa. Stop.
Another method for tackling distraction is to work like Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt had his hand in so many different buckets during his college years that he often didn't have much time left to study. So when he did have small chunks of time, he'd completely isolate himself and do nothing else but deep work on his school studies. This allowed Roosevelt to be involved in all kinds of different activities and interests while still finishing at the top of his class.
I'm made of wax, Larry. What are you made of?
And this is great for the cyclist in training. If you can accomplish your necessary work in these crunched Rooseveltian blocks of deep work, then you can spend more time in the saddle. Another big concept in Cal's book is the importance of routine. He says, don't wait for inspiration. Rituals and routines help us to work hard for deep work. This is where things get real. This is the hands-on application of concepts. The biggest takeaway for me has been to schedule my days. And here's how I do it. I have a very simple app on my phone called Long Day. It has each day blocked into 30-minute chunks, and each night I go in and set up my daily schedule. This isn't a concrete, solid plan that I have to stick to, but rather just gives me some structure so that I have a good concept of time and don't end up running out of time for certain tasks. It's great during the winter when I have to balance work and training because I know that the sun sets at 5:30, so I have to be on my bike before 3:30 if I want to beat that darkness. So I can start there and work around that. One thing I've noticed in this process is that I'm a lot more productive in the mornings and with a strong cup of coffee at my side.
Now that is a great cup of coffee.
So now I try to schedule my deep work sessions in the early morning. And this is where the tower really comes in handy because now what most of my mornings look like is I wake up, eat breakfast, make my strong cup of coffee, and then head out to the tower where I can work on things like this without having to worry about waking up CJ in the other room right next to me. Another very interesting concept mentioned in the book is this idea of a grand gesture. In cycling, we'd probably refer to this as go big or go home.
Let's jump this jump.
Basically, if you invest a lot into something, the investment encourages you to work harder. If I want to start a training journal, instead of buying a little 50-cent notebook, I'll buy a nice leather-bound journal and just spend the extra money on this fancy journal, and that will encourage me to actually write in that journal each and every day. So the tower was definitely a grand gesture. Maybe even a little too grand if you ask my wife. It took me nearly 6 weeks to complete. I must have visited Menards at least 30 times, and by the end, the price tag was pretty large. But having invested both financially and physically, I'm now more motivated than ever to use it for deep work. And it's already paying off. This YouTube channel being one of the fruits of my labor, as I now have a private studio for recording. All right, information overload. I know, but it's good stuff. I get pretty excited about this kind of stuff. One final thing before I check out. Why do I call it the Tower? I've even had a couple friends ask me if it had 2 stories, and I'm like, bro, you think I can add a second story to a building? The Tower also comes from Cal's deep work book. In the introduction to the book, Cal spends a significant time convincing the reader that deep work is really important, and one of the examples he uses is about a psychologist named Carl Jung. Carl Jung, in the early 1900s, was actually a man who went against Sigmund Freud, who was considered the king of psychology at that time. And Carl Jung would leave town on the weekends and lock himself in a secluded cabin in the woods to go deep and write his theories on psychology. The place he did that was coined the Bollingen Tower. Hence, I've got my own tower. Mine's just a lot smaller and in my backyard. I hope this video has been interesting and useful, and I intend to provide even more cycling-specific videos as I develop my YouTube channel. To help me grow, subscribe to my channel and even share this with friends if you think it would benefit them. And if you find yourself interested or looking for a cycling coach, don't hesitate to reach out via my website, dillmancoaching.com, where we'll schedule a free consultation call and actually see if coaching is a good fit for you. And if it is, then we'll get you set up on a custom Purple Lightning powered training program. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for more videos.